Okay, hello and welcome back to my channel again. At least I hope it's again. Otherwise, welcome new viewer. Um, I do want to take a moment right now to say thank you to all those who did view my video. It's in the tens of people here, and even that's pretty unbelievable. And I am profoundly grateful for all of you stopping by. So, with that, let's get into today's video. I'm going to share with you some item elevators because now that we have some silos, we need a way to get our items up and into those silos. So we have three different types. We have this one, kind of a glitchy one, and I'll show you how that works in a moment. We have water-based elevator, which are the cheapest, but now with the new sound update to water, they might be the most annoying. And over here we have a very expensive but very efficient mechanical type item elevator. So we'll start right here with the very basic circuit that we're using, and that is an observer observing the chest and a hopper taking things from the chest and placing them into a dropper. So when an item goes into or out of the chest, this observer will observe that and then send a signal down to this block, which will power this repeater for just a moment, which will take and repeat the signal to power this block, which powers the dropper to activate. The way this particular item elevation method works is a block in Minecraft will be shunt out of the way if it's inside a solid block for some reason. So we'll take and place that there, and it pops up and out, and we're able to pick it up. That was kind of hard to see, so let's do it again. And up it goes. So that's just a quirk of Minecraft coding so that you don't lose blocks by placing other blocks over them. So we're going to use that to our advantage to get the blocks to lift through the glass block. And I don't need to demonstrate all 64 of them. I think you get it. So we take this to its conclusion and we build ourselves a glass tower. Now, it has to have all four sides covered this way, or else the items will get shunt to the shortest side, and then you'll have items spilling one way or another. I think if they're all equal, it defaults to going to the south first, but that would require more testing. So we'll put these in to demonstrate this one. And what we have at the very top is a water source, and we're going to flow the items to one side. Now, as I said, you have to have all of these sides blocked off, so the water has to move past this glass block here that we're using to get our items to height, and then over a hopper to be collected. And it's just that easy. Now, as I explained in my last video, I'll say it again here. I'm using these concrete blocks to differentiate for circuits. I'm using these glass blocks here in this video so you can visually see what's going on. But in both cases, you can use whatever solid blocks you want. And in fact, these glass blocks are not technically solid blocks, but they are building blocks. So you can use whatever works for your build or whatever you think looks nice. You'll get the same result. You could use a stack of netherite all the way through here and you will still get your items up to the top. Though if you do that, you're rolling in it anyways, and you probably don't need demonstration videos on an item silo. But who knows? Next, I'm going to discuss the properties of our water elevator, which requires us to use a soul sand at the bottom to create a bubble column. So the first thing we're going to need is water source blocks all the way for every single block along this. And you can build these as tall as you want. Water bubble columns will go from bedrock all the way to build height. And just to show you what happens, items will get lifted, even launched now, by a bubble column, which I think is one of the funniest things I've seen in Minecraft in a while. So we're going to demonstrate. It's the same circuit. It does the same thing. Treasure box, observer, powers the block, powers the repeater, powers the other block. This is our dropper facing upwards. the item will just be shunt right through the soul sand and into the water column, and it will be lifted up and sent to the hopper here. Now these are all for the same, with the variation that at the top you can send the water flow whichever direction you want. They can go, it makes no difference if you offset it from your base. So let's just demonstrate how this works, and we'll get a good laugh out of this, because maybe we could do something fun with some kind of item fountain. As you're probably noticing though, this is one of the noisier contraptions we've built so far, so this may not be a fun one to keep around your base. With all the splashing noises all the time, it might become real annoying. And there we have that. Like I said, you can point it whatever direction works for you. You can use whatever aesthetic blocks you need to use to blend in with your build or stand out amongst the rest of your builds, however it suits your fancy. So onward to our last one, which is our fully mechanical monster. Now, this thing is expensive. It's going to take a lot of observers, it's going to take a lot of redstone, repeaters, torches, and droppers, which also takes some redstone as well. One of the main benefits of this one, as compared to the water elevators, because you technically could put the circuits up next to each other, but then how do you keep your items from crossing over to other streams if you have them other columns right up next to each other? So sorting would become an issue, but you technically could move these right next to each other and save on a tower of glass, I suppose. But back to this one, you can stack these up right next to each other. Um, if you're not going to do that, you can instead use just a single bit of redstone here, which can save you some resources. However, if you're going to stack them up, or if you're going to tile them next to each other, I really do suggest that you use repeaters. Otherwise, your signals are going to get crossed, and you can end up jamming up your elevator if your items have nowhere to go, and then the signal gets jammed because one of these droppers is not firing properly. So do use repeaters here in place of that redstone dust. Now I'm going to use a cyan concrete there because, as I've explained, I use these colored concrete blocks to differentiate different circuits. And the cyan one is actually going to be part of both circuits. And this is how we place our droppers here. Now, a dropper just sends an item out the front of it. Nothing too fancy. It doesn't, like a dispenser, try to use the item. It just sends one item out the front. It drops it the same way as if a player pushed the Q key. Or if down on your controller, if that's what you're playing on. Whoops. Alright, so I will just talk about the rest of this one for a second before I go and build that and set up all of those observers, because that can be a pain in the butt, especially in survival mode. So what's happening here is we have our basic circuit like on those elevators. We get our treasure box, drops an item into the hopper, into the dropper, and what happens is that circuit that we've been using fires. So this dropper pushes one item up into this dropper. Now, if it's dropper to dropper transfer, the dropper will put the item inside the next dropper. So what happens here is power from this repeater comes through this block and shuts this torch off, which allows this torch to turn back on because this block is being powered by this torch currently. When that turns off, this torch will turn on. It will light up this repeater. The observer will observe that and send a signal up here. This observer will observe this torch flickering off, which will power this block, which will power our next dropper, which will fire the item here. Also, this observer observes that this observer observed something and powers this block. And so our chain keeps going up, and you'll get the idea. So, just for demonstration purposes, we'll stick that stack in there and watch all of our torches flicker on and off for a moment. And as you can see, everything's making it up to the top. Once again, very expensive. Observers take 2 quartz and a redstone to build, along with the stone materials, but that's a big trip to the nether and a lot of quartz mining. So you see how this torch is flickering on and off and not activating anything but the one repeater. So, now we take and have, whoops. No, that's how we do it. So we use temporary blocks, because when you place an observer down, it's looking away from you. Whereas if you place a dropper down, it is looking at you. You'll get the hang of it, though. I'll become simple redstone engineers by the end of this video series. Or at least that's my hope, is to help you all out that way. You can just aim for the top of the torch and stack up these observers as we go. But don't stand in the way of placing the block. That doesn't help much of anything. Alright. So we'll finish this one up. We'll run a demonstration where they both work in tandem. You might want this if you were to have, say, a very high-powered farm with while using a lay to collect. A lay have the ability to drop just a boatload of items onto a hopper or at the note block or towards the player really quickly, much faster than a single hopper could handle. So if you have an intensely high-powered farm, such as a bamboo farm or maybe a gold farm where you're just getting tons and tons and tons of golden swords, this might be the idea for you if you have to elevate those items, is to do 2 or 3 wide of this to alleviate pressure off from one, because you will back up the system real quickly. It fires, just as fast as observer signals can fire. But it is a chain, and it's pretty easy to break these if you overwhelm it too much for too long. So, we'll throw those in, and they'll be going, doing their thing here. We'll see them flickering, not quite together, but you can tell the pattern. Nothing gets mixed up. We'll take those out of there. And you can watch this whole thing go. You can even see the backs of these observers lighting up. Just a little bit. But there we have it. Item elevators. And once again, build this as tall as you'd like. All the way up to build height limit if you want, and then send it over. You only need one space at the top, obviously, to send one to one side. And there you have it. Like I said, it's much cheaper to build these water ones, but they are much noisier, so that really makes personal preference. And then this one is glitchy. I have only ever heard of it breaking. I've not actually seen it break myself, but I also don't use it very often. I prefer this mechanical one. Make sure that you can leave yourself access to this side, or any side really, so that you can check all of your droppers as we're going here. Did I actually use a dispenser for one of those? Did it say? Nope, those all say dropper. Okay. I thought so, but these things happen. So, once again, thanks for stopping by. I'm your White Sun Paladin, and I hope to see you in the next one. Soon we'll work into item sorters and item filters, but I want to work more with Allay to determine those types of filtering machines, and they're actually really good. but a lay can be kind of temperamental to work with. So there's that. And routers or distributors is something I'd like to explore a little bit too. So look forward to those videos coming in the next couple weeks, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks again. Please leave a like and subscribe. And White Sun Paladin out.